People decide to build a family, get married and have children, it is the responsibility of both parties, the mother and the father, to raise the children. However, oftentimes it is noticed that children gravitate more to the mothers. They love and celebrate their mothers more. Why is it so? Could it be because of the primordial roles? A mother is a life giver. She's the emotional support. She nurtures. As a matter of fact, she's a go-to guy for almost anything. And the father is the provider, the protector, the authority, the disciplinarian, and the head of a home. So many things to celebrate motherhood. Poems, songs, observances, films, literature, you name them, all celebrating motherhood. Not as much for fathers. The question again is, why the imbalance? Don't worry, just sit down and relax, because this weekend it's all about the mother's love and the father's sacrifice. It is your favorite weekend show, Weekend Deal, coming to you from the network service of the NTA. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Patience Eloy Abba, and of course I am not alone. Thelma.
Wonderfully put, Patience. Eloy, when we were talking, I was just thinking, I went back to my primary school, secondary school days, when it was the Parents Teachers Association. You know, back then, there was hardly an association meeting that our fathers did not attend. Nowadays, even in those meetings, you see more of the mothers. And in those days, it was unheard of for a woman to be the head of the Parent Teachers Association. In these days, now more than ever before, we have mothers heading this association. We all know that this association is the bridge between the parents and the guardians and the teachers and the schools where our blessed, wonderful children attend. We often ask ourselves, we ponder before and after our Weekend Deal show. We wonder, do our topics impact you? Talking about security, we're talking about you. Talking about health, you are focused. When we discuss marriages, relationships, we are focused on you. Last week, it was all about managing personal finance. We had you on our mind. Today is no different. And in a way, it's all about our sacrifice and our tenacity on the show. Because for us, like I often say, it's more than just a job. It is a civic responsibility that we here at the NTA do not take lightly, just like today. And for it all to make sense, for us to weave it neatly, for us to bring forth resolutions to the table, we need you to partner with us. And what's the best way to do it? Let's be interactive on the show. When the show takes off, make sure to send in your messages and your experiences as they happen. We want to have it real time. My name is Thelma Obaze. Welcome to Weekend Deal. Weekend Deal. On the continent and in the world is a thing of pride for the father, the person at the helm of affairs in the home, to take care of his responsibility by providing for his family. But does that negate his role in the upbringing of his children? Should he strike a balance, or should they strike a balance so that they spend time with the family, so that the children get to know them and have the same rapport they have with their mothers, with their fathers? That's why we're bringing this issue to the fore. We've themed it Mother's Love, Father's Sacrifice. Francis delves deeper. Francis, take us there.
Historically and culturally, fathers and mothers in Nigerian families hold significant roles. Fathers were traditionally seen as the providers and protectors, responsible for the financial well-being of the family and making major decisions. Mothers, on the other hand, were primarily caregivers, nurturing and raising the children, managing the household, and providing emotional support. While these roles were once rigidly defined, they have evolved over time due to various factors, with more women entering the workforce and families becoming more nuclear or blended. There is being a re-evaluation of what it means to be a father or a mother in contemporary Nigerian society.
Let's get out of the dogma and the mythology of saying, oh, it's the father alone that should provide for the family. Let the mother just sink in. Well, when the two marry, they become one. There was a time in my life where I could not bite an ant. So the tilt was from my wife's end, who were surviving by what she earned and all of that. But over time, things change. And so you need to be able to see what particular shift a family is going through. There's no hard and fast rule there. Oh, it has to be the man. Everything the woman earns is just for her. Well, it's good. But in our current day and society, especially for the middle class and the low-level class, that is far from reality.
We don't know how difficult it is raising three rebellious kids.
However, traditional expectations still linger in some communities, influencing perceptions of parental roles to varying degrees across the country.
Where there's family oneness, and it's a family indeed, whoever earns more is no point, because we are one. That's why they are called Mr. and Mrs. So and so. One family. They are seen as one. And that's not to say there are no bad times where, especially the feminine gender, when the chiefs are down, you hear Madam say, I am the one taking care of this family. Who are you? You are not the real man. And all of that. You see? We should not pride ourselves in that. I, for one, will even prefer my wife earns better than myself. Why? Because I will have peace, I will have comfort. She is a better manager. She will manage the fund more than myself.
As for the discrepancy in Mother's Day and Father's Day's observances, it's reflective of societal priorities and perceptions. Motherhood is often celebrated more extensively due to its historical association with nurturing and caregiving, while fatherhood, although equally important, has traditionally been less emphasized in public discourse and celebrations.
When it comes to festivities and all of these sheer emotional things, you see women more in that department than men. What concerns me with Father's Day, with all of the retinue of thoughts and feelings of programs, agenda, and all of that, for me as a person, even though very good, necessary, I don't count it as much. But when you talk about celebrations, festivities, birthdays, you find women there. So that's why, you see, women take their time to celebrate it. And I think women should also join them in the celebration. Because what is good for the goose, people say is also good for the gander.
This difference doesn't diminish the significance of a father's role, but rather reflects societal norms and practices. Therefore, Weekend Deal today is captioned, A Mother's Love, a Father's Sacrifice.
These days we hear of stay-at-home fathers. We hear of mothers who are out there bringing in the bacon, winning the bread, and bringing in everything. So, should our celebration of both parties also not change or even balance up? Well, our next report from Ola Fagbemi, the roles and responsibility of fatherhood? Let's see this, then we can talk more.
Fathers are stepping into roles once predominantly held by mothers. These new roles redefine what it means to be a father in modern Nigerian families.
There are rules prescribed for the father, some for the mother, and even for the children. And but there is also the point where you get to where you harmonize the parental rules. Yes, the man is the head of the family, but he also knows that he's accountable to God. And because of that, the leadership role in the home is not for oppression. It is not also for one to be insensitive.
Parental leave policies in Nigeria are also evolving, with the civil service now offering paternity leave for fathers. This shift allows fathers to bond with their newborns and support their partners during the first few weeks after childbirth.
Having 2 to 3 weeks break from my place of work means that I'm going to have 24 hours. That will enable me to do a whole lot in my family. 1, the bonding. 2, reduction of workload on my spouse. 3, having the time to carry my children along in most of the things I will be doing within that period.
Paternity leave isn't just about time off work. It is about building stronger family bonds and promoting a father's love and sacrifice. By taking paternity leave, fathers show their commitment to being present in their children's lives and support their partners.
With this paternity leave opportunity, I can tell you that my presence around my children and at home was very noticeable, to an extent that my second to the last born and the one before him have refused to sleep in their room. They now sleep with daddy because daddy is always telling them story in bed before they sleep.
Fathers need to be there, not just for their presence to be felt, but to support the mother, give her a massage, tell her to lie down, wash the plates, and pamper her. Give her surprise pepper soup. Don't let it be too hot or too.
Despite the evolving roles, traditional cultural norms still impact fatherhood. The influence of religion and extended family dynamics can shape how fathers engage in caregiving. Yet, many fathers are finding ways to balance these influences with modern approaches to parenting.
You just can't explain why you shouldn't be involved in some things at home just because of tradition. It is just because they said it is not the role of a man. And you ask yourself, what is the role of? Is it such a big or a degrading responsibility to the extent that you should pass it on to someone you consider as second fiddle in the home, or what? Because to me, there are some things I just feel if there is need to do something, whoever seems to be better placed to do it should go ahead.
Through resilience and unwavering commitment, fathers are stepping into new roles, supporting mothers and guiding their children towards a brighter tomorrow. These fathers are redefining what it means to be a father, challenging stereotypes and proving that a father's love and sacrifice are just as important as a mother's.
Wow, Patience, that was very
Very
heartwarming.
heartwarming.
The father's love and sacrifice is just as important and integral as the mother's.
You know, one of our viewers, an esteemed viewer, sent this to me. You know how men are mostly, they don't show their emotions. They don't care whether you celebrate them or not. But he told me that this message from his son made him cry. He read it over and over. The son wrote to him, I know dads don't get enough credit. I want you to know that we appreciate the good education we got and the upbringing. We appreciate the fact that you introduced us to computer when no one knew about them. You got us books to read at an early age, which sets us apart from our peers. You got us toys that our mates envied us for. Being a man, you did all that. I want you to know that we appreciate it. We see it. It has played a major role in who we are today. I just want to say thank you. He said this made him cry again and again. So sometimes that tough daddy needs that love. That daddy that seems like he does not care what you say or do. He needs that I love you. Let's say it to them once in a while. Yeah. Okay, let's get our conversation started and our guests are here. Let's meet our first guest. She is Mrs. Oluwatoyin Ogukomi. Let's see her virtually.
We welcome you to Weekend Deal.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you here. No doubt making very interesting incursions into this topical issue today. A mother's love, a father's sacrifice. Like Patience said, the fathers need to hear it every now and again. Okay, we welcome our second guest. He is Venerable Akindeji Omoniyi Uluboji. Let's see his profile.
Sir, you're welcome to Weekend Deal.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so sir, I hear that even though you're a pharmacist and you have so many other things, you prefer to be simply called Venerable Deji.
Yeah.
So sir, you're welcome to Weekend Deal Studios.
Thank you.
Today it's all about mother's love and the father's sacrifice. What do you think, in your opinion, why mothers are more celebrated? More often time here, people even complaining, how many Mother's Day do we have? Every day it's Mother's Day, and one civil society, one observances all over the place, and the fathers just one day, and a lot of people don't even know what that date is. Why is it so? Why the imbalance?
Well, I don't want to just ascribe such seeming feelings to culture.
Okay.
But the standard of measurement is that in a home, the mother is to love the children. The father is to provide for the children. So the father goes out there, tries, makes the money, comes home tired, and to enforce some disciplinary measures on whoever has been misbehaving.
That's when they report anybody.
And so the father is like a house policeman, and mommy is the person to run to for all your needs. And I do joke with some children. I say, oh, your shoe is nice. Who bought it for you?
Mommy.
It's always mommy.
Mommy.
Who gave mommy the money? It's daddy. Who pays your fees? It's mommy. Who gives the money to your mommy? It is daddy. And you see that the understanding of the children as they even grow up, they ascribe that love portion to the mother, and then the discipline to the father.
Interesting.
So it's a cut and dry stuff.
Interesting. We know that there are exceptions to this rule.
Yeah.
Where the mother is a disciplinarian and the father is the more reserved one. But in spite of that, I still agree with what Patience said. We're celebrating the women on more days of the year than we are the men. But we know that's not saying that our men are less important or less vital to the upbringing of our children. How can our fathers even strike a balance beyond the days they are celebrated? We just heard from Patience now how a father being remembered, being acknowledged, his sacrifices being brought to the fore made him so emotional. We know now women are also working to come and support their partners in the home, and they still make the time to spend with the children. Like Patience was telling me last week, it's the mother who cries with the daughter. It's the she's there. Even though she goes to work, she must find time to listen
to the children,
to respond. Tell us, Mrs. Toyin, going forward, how can men strike a balance?
Okay, so thank you so much. You know, when it comes to parenting, I'll start by saying that being a parent is not gender specific.
Right.
Yeah. For the fact that you've donated your sperm and the woman has donated her egg and it has come together to form a child, the role of parent is for both the father and for the mother.
Right.
Unfortunately, we live in a patriarchal environment whereby we see the father as Lord and Master, and we see the woman as like second fiddle or
a subsidiary
assistant.
Absolutely. But parenting is a partnership where both father and mother needs to come together to raise their children to become who God has created them to be. Now, how can fathers strike the balance? They should be more emotionally and physically present in the lives of their children. Your role as a father is not just to provide finances, provide school fees, provide for the home. Your role as a father is to provide guidance, leadership, protection for your children. And your children should see you as being part of their lives, not as the person that is just the ATM machine providing the bills. Now, mothers, if you have a husband that has taken that role of being just the provider, I would admonish that you bring him closer to the children.
Yeah.
Let the children know that, oh, guess who bought this for you? Daddy gave me money for me to buy this thing for you. And I've seen cases whereby at the end of the day, the children will just ascribe everything to their mothers. Oh, it was mom that, like you said, his mom that did this, his mom that. Meanwhile, the man is slaving. He's sacrificing his time, he's sacrificing his energy, he's sacrificing his comfort just to provide for the family. So I think it's a partnership. So the mothers should ensure the father too comes to the forefront. And
but I also want to say this from another angle. The society construction of who the man should be. A man is supposed to be tough. A man it's not supposed to be very emotional. Sir, could that be one of the reasons? Because if a man, I have a father who balanced it. I am so close to my father, and other children, all the other siblings are. Because when he comes back from work, that's when we all gather around him to eat. And then you take one thing from daddy's food, and daddy will use the opportunity to talk to us, make us laugh, and all that. And our mother was the same thing. So we had love from both parents. But some fathers, I have a friend whose father was like, I don't know, tough. I never see him laugh. He's there at home. When daddy's in the parlor, everybody goes to the room. Daddy enters the room, that's when children can come. So is it that men don't want to be in touch with their emotions? Could that be the reason why we think these men are machines? And so, good afternoon, sir. You want your mother to laugh and have fun.
Yeah, it's so sad that I could even get emotional about this, because what I experienced in my childhood is like a cat and mouse game between us and dad. My mom would say, Oga, you today, not just your dad has come, but your boss has come. And everybody will scamper
away
and pick up all the things that contract. Who put this there? Who carried that there? You know? Although my dad had his way of making up sometimes. I don't want to go so deep into that, but he had a way that we boys, we could just overlook. But you see, that doesn't rub off the fact that parenting is absolutely on both. It's not just choosing this. Do what you can and you like best. I do what I like best. All for the children. That's our focus. But you see, many times, we men, I must just come out straight. We feel that's the woman's job. Let's handle that aspect for the children. I don't have time for all of that. And these things are sinking into the children. That doesn't really have time for us.
Daddy doesn't.
His mom.
And these children are so sensitive. Very, very. What you think they have not noted, you will be surprised. My wife runs a school, and I take pleasure in going to play with these children and ask them questions. When I'm not very sharp, I just get up, go into one of the classrooms, and they carry me.
You have endeared yourself to them.
See, don't mind my mommy. My daddy has given her school fees, and she has not paid. And they are writing my name among those who are owing the school.
This is emotional.
Wow, interesting.
But
what about you, Venerable,
Yes.
and your children?
Yes.
You know, based on your background, how did you bring about a change with your own nuclear family?
Yes.
Was it easy?
It wasn't easy. Because, you see, the society is changing. And these children are. And let me rub it in here that some parents are really uncultured. They don't know what their responsibility as parents. They say all sorts of things in the presence of the children, and they don't know that these children are noting all of these things. And there's a common talk that you can't give what you don't have. If you are not well trained, you can't train your children. And you see the whole thing backfiring, and these children are getting families unstable.
It's like a recurring decimal.
And people not caring, and the marriage ending
abruptly.
just 30 days.
But please share with us, Venerable, that is true really, but let me delve to Mrs. Toyin. We've seen people who have been able to break the cycle. Because I have a childhood friend, his father had like 40-something children. But he said even though the father managed, he was a general in the army, so he was able to run his home like that. But he said even though the father provided for everybody, they hardly lacked, the women were obedient, they called their father sir. He said he didn't know his father's first name till he was entering university, because no one had ever said it in the house. The wives don't call him by name, neither did they ever see their pay, because everything is done above them. But he told himself when he was entering university that this will be, I'm leaving home now as a new person, and from now I'm already thinking and planning how to build my home that will be separate from where I grew up. And he has succeeded. Tell us how more fathers can achieve that.
So when we talk about parenting is not inherent, it's not inborn. Parenting is a skill that you need to learn. Parenting is, there are skills, there are strategies to raising your children right. And for most parents, they just assume
after all, my parents did not go for parenting classes and they raised us well. But when they say they raised us well, you can see trauma in this individual's lives.
Well, with quotation marks.
Based on how they were raised.
Yeah.
You know? You can see trauma based on how they were raised. And for that gentleman, he had noticed that there was something missing in his life based on the way his father raised him. And he decided to go and either learn on how to become a better parent for his own children. So parenting is all about learning skills, learning strategies, doing better than the previous generation.
Better. Parenting indeed is intentional, and we must be intentional about bringing up our families the way we want them to be. So we'll go on our second break. The conversation is just starting, so don't go away.
You're watching Weekend Deal, and it's always a pleasure to have your company. We know your messages are already coming in, and Patience cannot wait to begin to share them. But before she begins to do that, let's look at the religious perspective. We know that we have religions in Nigeria because we're religious people. How does that strike a balance? How does that impact parenting, whether for the father or for the mother? How does it affect our children and have an impact on them, whether for good or for nay? We're talking mother's love, father's sacrifice. We're going to Kaduna. Kaduna, please share.
Culture and religion are major determinants of people's way of life, down to the smallest unit of the society, that is, the family. In the past, when African traditional religion was widely practiced, each member of the family had specific roles and responsibilities, providing for and protecting the family, while mothers were responsible for childcare, food preparation, and maintaining the unity of the family. Children had a higher sense of discipline and greatly honored their parents. Although Islam and Christianity have taken over the African traditional religion, scriptures from the holy books preaches the need for children to honor both parents.
Allah say in the Holy Quran, and I quote, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed that none should be worshipped save him. And concerning the two parents, we should be kind to them. His grandfather said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, man abaru, O messenger of Allah, who is most befitting of my kindness? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, Ummuk. Qultu. Then I repeated my question again, man abaru, who is most befitting of my kindness? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ummuk. Then I repeated again, man abaru. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ummuk. Then I repeated again, man abaru. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Abak fal akrab wal akrab. This is a clear indication from the teaching of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that our female parents, that is the mothers, are most deserving of our kindness.
For the Christian religion, we admonish, children are admonished to honor their parents. Now, when it talks about parents, it means the father first and the mother. Ephesians chapter 6, he said, honor your father and your mother in the Lord, for this is good. And he said, this is the first commandment with a promise of what? Longevity, a promise of, long days here on earth. So in Christian dom, we don't look at honoring your mother separately, but we look at honoring both parents, even though we know because of the closeness of the mothers to their children, and naturally they show more love. Not that the fathers are not really trying, but the people who have the first contact or more exposure to the children is the mother. So the children would tend to align with their mother.
In both Christianity and Islam, the role of a father in the family cannot be overemphasized, but the society seems to honor mothers more.
1 Timothy chapter 5, he said, anyone that is not able to provide for his own, especially for his own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So, and that is being spoken directly to the man. The man, in the bid to take care of the family, sometimes might not be around to show love to the children. And sometimes, if the mother does not make the children to know that why your dad is not around is because he's trying to fend for his family, he doesn't want to go against the faith.
It is the responsibility of the father to take care of the family, but that is not enough. It is not only providing for them. Their moral upbringing matters a lot. The child's behavior outside the home is a reflection of the kind of upbringing he has at home. And the woman cannot do it alone. Because in a traditional African society, our children tend to have to fear their male parents more. Men should do more than what they are doing presently. They should find time out of no time to attend to their domestic problems.
From all indications, there is a need for fathers to balance providing for the needs of the family and catering for the emotional needs of the family. For indeed, times have changed, and we all have to change with it.
Yes, there's need for balance. I would want our guests to react to what we just watched. I would start from Mrs. Oluwatoyin.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we can see from the feature that both religion, the Christianity and the Islam religion, both emphasize the fact that parenting has to do with both the father and the mother. Yes. It's not just the role of the father to provide and that is it, or it's not just the role of the mother to stay at home with the children. Both of them are meant to do it together. It's a partnership. Parenting is about showing love, nurturing, and I love the fact where he said grooming them morally. And as parents, we need to be coached to our children. We need to teach them the right things. We need to model the right things we are teaching them. We have to see it because we can't just say, oh, behave like this. Meanwhile, you're doing something else. And the only way your children can catch what you're teaching is by when them seeing
so
you.
So do as I do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so sir, you do want to respond a bit to that before we allow Calabar to join our conversation.
Okay. I just want to rub this in. The Bible says, husbands, love your wives.
Yes.
And there are over 100 verses in the Bible that states this. Husbands, love your wives. That love, the Amplified Bible, talks about being affectionate, being sympathetic, loving her as yourself, and being selfless, and doing what is best for her. That's all about the love expected of the husband to the wife.
Okay.
How does that now impact the children? Because the children now are the offshoots of this love union.
Let me put the other part of the biblical injunction. It says, wives, submit to your husbands. And the submission is supposed to be a joyful submission.
Oh, joyful.
Not a slavish submission. If the woman wakes up, wakes the children up, gets them ready, dresses them, gets them ready to school, at the same time getting their snack and food or whatever they have to take to school, while the husband is still
sleeping.
And is the last to sleep in the house mostly. And then in the night, while the wife is preparing against tomorrow morning, the husband will say, dear, kindly let me have some sandwich there.
Or some pounded yam at 11 p.m.
At 11 p.m.
At midnight.
Okay. We must all agree that, like I said before, society is evolving and the traditional roles of fathers and mothers are also evolving. These days, things are different. NTA Calabar will be joining the conversation and telling us the modern society's perception of parenthood. Let's watch.
The African family setting is a social unit with norms and beliefs and an economic unit for the survival of its members. Families include a wide net of members that can include siblings, cousins, uncles, aunties, unborn children, and departed relatives. Households are the smallest unit of the family, which includes parents and children. Due to the impact of urbanization and globalization on parental dynamics, there has been a noticeable shift from traditional roles where men primarily are seen as breadwinners and women expected to focus only on homemaking and childcare. Today, more couples are embracing shared responsibilities.
Shifting has to be with great understanding. We have a lot of issues of divorce and near divorce today because we have not, and when I mean we, the family, mother and father particularly, have not seen the need to put their acts together and go with the change of society by talking about it in the family. There needs to be that meeting point.
Women and men have equal obligation to the family, to their families. One is the head, no doubt, but the other one is not the bottom, is not the tail. The other one is also a co-head. The function is that the two function as one to bring up the children and run the family. That is what is invoked now, and I think that that has led to certain rules.
As a result of urbanization and globalization, there have been a drastic change in the family structure. The original structure have indeed deviated from the traditional family structure.
There are a lot of confusion as a result of diverse negative roles fathers and mothers play in families. One, a mother is trying to build a family and a father is not in agreement with the mother. Then a father is trying to build a family and a mother is not in agreement with the father. Then the house is divided. Where will be the focus of the children will be in diverse ways.
We really need to calm down, look at it, and take out the basic thing that we need to do, which is understanding that will power seriously the family that is the smallest unit of the society. Once we get it right in the family, the society will be better.
Traditional notions about families, life, work, identity, parental roles, and relationships of individuals have been transformed due to the impact of globalization.
Issue of urbanization, this movement from normal norms to urbanization, or this movement from normal norms to being global, has really thrown the world into a serious disaster. But we might look at it that is progress. We might look at it as development. But I want to tell you that those of us that are brought up from the village setting, we understood time and seasons. But today, because of urbanization and globalization, a lot of things have gone wrong.
I think the changes are for good, no matter the globalization or urbanization that we meet. But I will also say that when families come together, when families tie, husband and wife, definitely, like I said, will produce a better family. And when we produce better families, we'll produce a better society.
These are changes in society. They are not abrasive again. In those days, they would have been seen to be abrasive acts. But no, we have come to see that we need all to contribute to the family income for the well-being of the society. All of us must contribute to earn income. The woman, the man must contribute to bring income to the family, for the family to do well and take care of their children.
Globalization has altered family dynamics by influencing patterns of migration, employment, consumption. Increased mobility and economic opportunities have led to greater geographic dispersion of families, challenging traditional notion of kinship and community. No matter the gender or parental dynamics, family is everything.
Earlier, when we opened our show, Weekend Deal Today, and we let you know the area we'll be delving in, I did ask, when we talk and bring experts here to the studio with the aim of preferring solutions, are we able to change your narrative? If you check yourself honestly and look inwards and find that you are lacking in some way, we do hope that we are able to, because every family is a microcosm of the larger society. Yeah. Like the Venerable said earlier, a healthy family births a healthy nation. And it's up to you and us here to do the needful for the young people that we're raising today. We're still talking about a mother's love and a father's sacrifice. Venerable, you have an interesting dimension that you were sharing earlier.
Yeah. We all are aware of the galloping inflation we are having. It's a worldwide and particularly very high one in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Time will not allow me for condiments. 1 year ago, you can't make a stew with more than 500 naira okra. Now you may have to buy up to 4,000 to 5,000 naira just for the okra. No meat.
Let's respond to what Mrs. Toyin said. The woman is resentful. Because sometimes I step into a home, I can see that one party is resentful. Either the man or the woman. I wonder, the party that is getting the rebuff, that is seeing a change in his partner, is it not emotionally focused and see that a change is happening? Should a man or a woman notice that the partner is not acting the way they ought to or the way they used to, at what point should they make a change? Or should they step in and say, darling, you're acting differently today? Even before you hear that she will not put her money in the soup, or she won't put her money in the stew, or she won't support you by buying school sandal for one of the children, perhaps the father is unable to provide at that time and the child needs. What ought the other partner to do when he notices a change in his spouse, or she a change in her spouse?
Here, communication is very, very important. When you carry a burden, or let me put it in another way, they say a problem shared is a problem half solved. Okay. When you share it, then you provide solutions. But if you just burden yourself with it and carry the weight on, definitely you will let off the aggression one way or the other.
In a wrong way.
In a very wrong way.
To worsen the situation.
So it's better do the talk the talk, on ways to move forward.
Okay.
And you give a little there and you sacrifice a little there, then you can move on.
Compromise.
Okay. Well, and
family.
It's selfless. This affair, it should be a selfless one. When you are there as a calculator, calculating, you won't get nowhere.
We know there are times when, like she said earlier, some women or some men have sacrificed. You know, some women have often contributed to the point where the account is empty. Women have sold their jewelry to support when the man, you know, had some challenges. Like our background feature showed us earlier that the man said there was a time when he could not do anything. And good, the thing the wife was earning, that she just stepped into the gap. Some women have made that sacrifice and later had cause to regret. But Patience, please take us to our next
so true. So many angles to this story, and there are so many levels to this story. But I'll take this message from one of our viewers. He said, "Good morning. I love the discussion and what you guys are doing. The Bible is complete. It's a complete capture, but generation, gender issues of quality of virtuous women is missing on the part of the family in this discussion." He said we should talk more about that. We'll talk more about that, but it's quite emotional here. And
that
I know
the Proverbs 31
Yes,
woman. I think we've heard from Mrs. Toyin, and Venerable has told us, partnership must entail compromise. It is true. And we know, if we're to be honest with ourselves, that women are often willing to make that compromise. They go the extra. They do it for the husband. They do it for the extended family. They do it for the nuclear. sometimes they've been burnt in the process. Venerable, tell us about that. Some women, because of some negative experiences they've had, they are unwilling to put their all not only into the union but into the family. And we now know that there are adverse effects. When the union is tense, it affects the young, amazing leaders we're raising in their home. Tell us.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a little bit earlier. When a newly married lady definitely has come from a home, and there could have been 1, 2, or 3 failings that has taught her some lesson that will determine how she wants to involve herself, her finances, and future. More so when somehow you have to pull her ears. Be careful with men. You may put your all and you will be busy out there doing something different that will not help your investments. So I really feel for women. And maybe I have siblings that are all girls. So I think I have a soft spot for women on that score.
That's why you're aging so gracefully.
They put so much into a marriage that a man could be not so responsible. Let me just be mild.
Or responsive.
Yeah.
But what ought to be her take? Before I come to Mrs. Toyin, you know, in that regard, she wants to keep giving, but she's slightly put off. Not just what her parents told her. She came into that union with the best of intentions. She wants to give her best. She wants to support her partner, and she has in the past. But some lackluster behavior or character traits have turned her off and made her almost regretful of her best intentions for the family and the home. What can she do differently? Just one word before Mrs. Toyin will take it from the psychological point of view, as well as being an invested member of your home.
Well, I think if once Christ is the center and the husband fails to exhibit Christ-like love, problems will come. But go to the Lord in prayers. There's nothing impossible for God to do. You can touch the heart. More so, when you continue, the wife, I mean now, continues sacrificially. The woman might be lucky to have the man change his heart and turn from his wicked ways for fear of God. And I'm putting may, you can say I'm putting some crosses.
Yes, may. I think that's where the spirituality and religion.
And you're using wisdom to tell us
also,
this.
Yes, there's need for a balance. Okay, was she going to respond to that?
Yes, like as a psychologist, a mother, a wife.
So I'll talk as a psychologist. I'll also speak as a mother,
and a wife.
So as a psychologist, when there are issues, when there's stress in the family, it's advisable you go for therapy. We have marriage counseling. We have personal counseling. So if you feel there's stress, that things are not going the way it should be, go for therapy, go for counseling. We have professionals who are out there, who have tools, who have resources that can help you to bring your marriage back to where it's meant to be. Now, as a mother, I love the parts where the Venerable said we should pray. Prayer conquers all. As a Christian, I believe in the power of prayer. I believe that when you pray, God answers prayers. But when you pray, what are you doing? You cannot be praying to God and you're acting otherwise. So you cannot say, God, please touch the heart of my husband, while you are now being wicked and being mean. So it won't balance. Then also remember that you have children, and your children are seeing you, they are watching you, they are watching everything you're doing. And it's what you're doing that they internalize, it's not what you're saying. So as mothers, as fathers, what examples are you showing to your children? what do you want your children to pick from your home and take to their own homes? It's very important.
Very important.
Patience was espousing that is the way many of our young men, or when they were young, how men were raised, were being told men or boys don't cry. That's really for women.
Absolutely. So the thing about men not showing their emotions now that they're older is due to the fact of based on how they were raised. So when boys are young and they're going through certain emotional stuff, you see parents telling them, no, brace up, man up, you don't cry. And there is an emotional side to man.
Yes.
So if we don't allow our children to get to that emotional side of themselves when they're younger, they grow up being rigid and not getting in touch with that not connected to that emotional side of theirs. So by the time they become fathers, they don't even know how to show empathy, show sympathy towards their children.
With it,